G'day guys and gal. Pride and arrogance are massive themes within Warhammer 40k. Almost every faction thinks they're the creme de la creme, even while they're getting steamrolled by other factions. The Imperium thinks Xenos are icky and want humanity to dominate the galaxy. The Eldar literally call humans monkeys, the Necrons refer to pretty much all other races as lesser, the Tau think everyone is weird, and the Orcs are just having a good time. However, the Eldar definitely stand above the rest when it comes to thinking they are hot shit, and fair enough to be honest. They dominated the galaxy for over 60 million years and also won the war in heaven. Not a clean win, and not entirely due to their own power, but they can still claim it. Sure, they are a bunch of refugees, rapists, and hippies now, but they have dominated the galaxy for 99.983% of their existence, and that is a pretty solid flex. Because of that flex, the Eldar have a hard time reconciling their fall from grace. They are the best, yet they are also the closest to extinction and are arguably one of the weakest factions right now, which makes their opinion on the other races quite fascinating. Before we get started, this might ruffle some feathers, but getting jacked or having visible abs isn't hard. You just gotta move a bit, pick up some heavy stuff, and most importantly, eat actually decent food that has protein in it. So today I've partnered with Factor to get that part of the formula sorted out for you. Factor is a brand that is all about getting jacked as conveniently as possible, as it sends a plethora of high protein, delicious microwave meals to your door each week. All you need to do is slap in the microwave and bam, a healthy, well macroed meal is ready to go, which takes no time to prepare or clean up. As Factor meals are never frozen and you get different Factor meals each week, you can even choose your own meals, you avoid the usual issues that come with microwave meals, like them tasting bland or getting sick of having the same one. I personally don't meal prep. I find it tedious and I can't be stuffed eating the same food every day. So Factor is perfect in that regard. What's the catch? Is it wildly expensive? Not even. Especially since using my link or code MAJORSEP50, you get 50% off your first box as well as 20% off the following month. And if you somehow don't like it, which I doubt, then you can cancel at any time. Getting in shape is all about making it as easy, enjoyable, and simple as possible, and there's no better way to do that than with Factor. Cheers to Factor for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over what the Eldar think of the other races and factions in order to try and understand the space elves a bit better. Let's get into it. Starting us off with the Eldar's opinion of the Imperium, of the non-chaos humanity. Out of all the races, mankind is one of the youngest yet also the most destructive and disruptive. Over the course of 40,000 years, a blink of the eye in the Eldars timeline, they rose up, dominated the galaxy, fought their own robots, collapsed and then rose again, fought each other in the Horus Heresy, and now have this gigantic religious oppressive empire that has somehow yet to fall. It's extremely jarring for the Eldar to see. Some of them almost respect it, but the vast majority of the Eldar see mankind as a less evolved species, even going so far as to call them monkai. In old lore, this was literally Eldar calling humans monkeys, which is pretty funny, but new lore has the origins of the word tracing back to a vicious, stupid, but powerful Xeno race that subjugated a number of Eldar for a time. Hence the Eldar now like to call all stupid, inferior, but destructive races monkai. However, these days they seem to only use it exclusively for humanity. During the heresy, there was a cabal of Xenos, including an Eldar autarch, that were trying to manipulate events to ensure the destruction of humanity to try save the rest of the galaxy. They used special perpetual humans as agents to help them, but they still treated these agents like lesser beings. The only human the cabal would ever consider to let join them was the Emperor. The Emperor was actually universally respected or feared by the Eldar. Eldrad considered him an old friend. The cabal respected him as an equal, and when a Harlequin once saw the Emperor's soul, she was horrified at its immense power and actually considered it to be more intimidating than Slanesh. While the Eldar like to think of humanity as lesser, they are more and more finding themselves depending on humanity for survival. After Yvrang helped bring Guilliman back, she remarked that she felt like he had outmaneuvered her and was manipulating the Eldar to his own ends. It's hard to think of a race as lesser when they are dominating the galaxy and you are forced to ally with them for your own survival. As a side note, some Eldar hold deep respect for certain elements of humanity. The Grey Knights once recovered a bunch of soul stones for the Eldar, earning their respect, while the Navigator House Belisarius was once saved by Cryfod Ulthwé, creating the Pact of Anwin, in which House Belisarius must come to Ulthwé's aid when called. Overall, it's a mixed bag, with the generally smarter and more progressive Eldar respecting humanity, whilst the older, more conservative Eldar are like, "Fuck you, monkey!" The Dark Eldar view humanity as a precious but dangerous animal. They love enslaving them, but enough Dark Eldar have been killed by Space Marines that they are now cautious about engaging the Imperium's elite forces. What about the Eldar's opinion of the Orcs? Well, this one is interesting because the Orcs have been around almost as long as the Eldar have, and they used to be allies. They used to be called the Krorks and were wildly powerful. Like a Krork would make a Primarch look like a guardsman. However, they have since wildly devolved, mostly thanks to Eldar culling campaigns and the Eldar killing their armies after the War in Heaven. So you have a race that the Eldar beat at their peak strength, who have massively devolved and now the galaxy's biggest pest. You can imagine that the Eldar don't look at them too highly, but surprisingly, a lot of Eldar actually have begrudging respect for the Orcs. While the Eldar fell from grace, the Necrons went into hibernation, and humanity was torn apart, the Orcs have just been having a good time. If you ask who will win Warhammer 40k, the answer is the Orcs have already won. This war-torn galaxy is their utopia, and some Eldar have remarked as such, although overall they still see them as vermin that needs exterminating. The Dark Eldar love the Orcs due to high Orc pain tolerance and morale. The Dark Eldar can go absolutely ballistic in their battles against the Orcs, and there will still be plenty of captors to bring back to Comrade to fuck with. An interesting one now, how about the Eldars' opinion of their ancient rivals, the Necrons? Well, they are probably the only faction they don't look down upon, as in the War in Heaven, the Necrons were a mighty foe and actually kicked the Eldars' ass pretty hard. So who are they to look down on them, you feel me? Most Eldar avoid Necron space, focusing on more pressing issues like Chaos or the Tyranids. However, Craftworld Elitok hates them like the War in Heaven was yesterday. It's actively directing all of its resources to destroying Necrons where it can. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say they respect the Necrons, if anything they hate them as a nemesis, but it's not the condescending disdain that they usually have. Surprisingly, the two factions haven't really fought a whole lot in the recent setting, considering their history, but it also does make sense. The Necrons are protecting their tomb worlds, the Eldar are protecting their maiden worlds, Comora or their craft worlds, so it's rare that the two factions would actually come face to face. As a fun little plot, when Trazyn was stealing the world crystal from an Eldar maiden world, fighting off the Exodites defending it, the Exodite leader tried to reason with him before he just kind of shrugged and put her in a Pokeball. Then, thousands of years later, when he used her as a Pokemon to fight a Catan shard, she was basically like, "You're a fucking prick, but I will fight alongside you because we need to take this Catan down." Speaking of Catan, what did the Eldar think of them? Well, they are actually in awe and fear of the Catan. The War in Heaven was the Catan versus the old ones, with the Necron and Eldar being used as chess pieces. When the Ynnari came face to face with the Catan shard, both Eldrad and the Visarch were in awe of the shard, speaking with wonder in their voice. Basically what I'm saying is that the Eldar actually take the Necrons seriously. What do the Eldar think of the Tau? After all, the Tau are the youngest of the races, so surely they see them as inferior. Well, yes and no. To be honest, the two factions barely interact. They only had one war, where the Tau were fucked over by the Dark Eldar in horrifically hilarious fashion, but then not knowing the difference between the Dark Eldar and normal Eldar, they then attacked the Maiden World and engaged in war with the Craft World. Certified Tau moment. This misunderstanding was eventually cleared up, but not a great start. However, Eldrad, who is probably the most reasonable of all Eldar, once said that he feels protective over the Tau and believes that out of all the races, they have the best chance of rising up and winning 40k. This would probably be the ultimate good guy victory, as a Tau victory would mean multiple Xeno races living in harmony with no chaos around to fuck shit up. The Tau and Eldar have also worked together to kill Tyranids before, their combined might completely dominating the space bugs, so overall the opinion is quite positive, if not remarked upon often. Now for the other side of the coin, Chaos. The Eldar fucking loathe Chaos above all else. It was Slaanesh who brought about the end of the Eldar. Now you could say that it was the Eldars' fault for having a gigantic coke-fueled blood orgy, and sure, but the Craftworlders and the Exodites had nothing to do with that. The Craftworlders saved as many uncorrupted Eldar as possible and fled, whilst the Exodites foresaw the fall and also fled. So all the Eldar, bar the Dark Eldar, actually had nothing to do with the fall and tried to prevent it from happening. It's like someone blaming the Allies for the Holocaust because they are the same species as the Nazis. So it's not hypocritical of them to hate Chaos or be super salty about Slaanesh. Most Eldar, bar maybe the Harlequins, live in constant fear of Slaanesh, doing everything they can to keep her away from their souls. Slaanesh in turn is constantly attacking and targeting the Eldar, as she wants to devour all of them. There is no mutual respect of a powerful enemy or the looking down at Chaos as primates, it's pure loathing, hatred and fear. The Ynnari emerged purely as a response to Slaanesh and an attempt to free themselves of her. They do also have concerns about the other Chaos gods, but those gods rarely direct their attention to the Eldar, nor do they have a claim on their souls. They are still a hated enemy, but it's not as personal as it is like with Slaanesh. They see the servants of Chaos as less than vermin. At least demons are a part of the arch enemy, but those that have willingly sold their souls to Chaos are less than Monkai. They are abominations that don't deserve to share the same galaxy as the noble Eldari. What about the greatest threat to the Eldars' current existence other than Slaanesh? The Tyranids. The Eldar fucking hate the Tyranids. Originally, they thought the Nids a minor pest, as the first few engagements between the two races saw the Nids crush pretty easily due to the Eldars' unconventional tactics and war making, which is hard to adapt to. They also didn't offer much biomass and were constantly moving around in hard to catch craft worlds. However, after the doom of Malantai, the near destruction of Yandin, and the loss of multiple maiden worlds, the Eldar see the Nids as an extreme threat. One of the few situations that cause the Dark Eldar and Craft Worlds to unite is when there is a Tyranid threat. Gene Stealers have a really hard time infecting the Eldar due to their Eldars' high standard standard of living, low reproductive rates, and their psychic nature means other Eldar would instantly know that something was off. The only time a gene stealer cult successfully took over a craft world is when the craft world willingly let themselves be infected in order to protect their souls from Slaanesh, as the gene stealer DNA would overwrite Slaanesh's claim on them. I would say that out of everyone they hate, Tyranids are a close second to Slaanesh. And last and least, we have no clue what the Eldar think of the Leagues of Votann due to their complete lack of lore. However, I would say it's either they don't mind them due to their technological prowess and isolationism, or they despise them as they are space dwarves, the natural enemy of space elves. So in order of who the Eldar hate, we first have Slaanesh, then the Tyranids, then the rest of Chaos, then the Necrons, then the Orcs, then the Imperium, and lastly the Tau. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then subscribe. We are exploding past 600k right now. You guys are insane. Maybe it's Space Marine 2's launch, as I definitely haven't gotten better at making lore videos, but I'll take it. Do you want to see for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.